My Hero Academia does many things better than other shonen, and although not living up to certain expectations is one of them, I want to focus on the good stuff, as not only does it improve the tropes we usually see, but it also adds something completely new. Hello comrade, my name is Mahias. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got Horikoshi to praise. Not going to dilly-dally much other than giving you a spoiler warning for the entire show, since we'll be talking about many characters' journeys and we'll proceed to elaborate on what I said in the intro. MHA brings a whole new table to the shonen genre in a form of villains. Yes, it has tear-jerking flashbacks, yes there is talk no jutsu, redemption which we'll cover, as well as dramatic monologuing, girls defeating girls, and a whole bunch of other cliches we know, maybe even love. What I'm stressing is the depth of these antagonistic characters that doesn't rely solely on their past. There is actual development and progression, which in the case of the last boss, Tomura Shigaraki, goes as far as to mirror that of the MC. A quirkless boy, handpicked by the top dog due to personal qualities, becomes a vessel for their power, etc, etc. No need for me to cosplay Robin and recount the lore, you can see the similarities if you zoom out just a bit. The key upgrade is that it happens within the same timeline, making it so that the two opposing forces grow simultaneously. This way, the protagonist doesn't feel like the only one playing catch-up, as it's often the case with the shonen formula of encounter a villain, struggle/take an L, train more, defeat the guy, and on to the next one. There is also a recurring baddie trope where they come back after being defeated, and these two are never quite satisfactory for me because one is too simple and the other is too cheap if done without sufficient build-up. My Hero Academia merges them and creates an enemy that becomes progressively more threatening as we keep encountering him. Switch the roles around and you'll get the most basic protagonist who gets stronger with every challenge on his way to defeating whoever is sitting on a fancy chair. It's a very simple concept, but it takes a villain is a hero of his own story to the next level and makes them feel like an actual living person, not just an obstacle. Speaking of simple concepts and overcoming obstacles, if you ever tried getting stuff sold exclusively in Japan, you know how much of a headache it can be. That's where Zen Market comes in for the rescue. It's basically a one-stop shop that lets you buy from almost any Japanese online store, even the ones that don't ship internationally. We're talking exclusive anime merch, rare figurines, limited games, and other things you just can't buy outside Japan because reasons. Here's how it works. If a store is integrated like Rakuten or Amazon Japan, you can search it directly on Zen Market. And if it's not integrated, just copy the item link and paste it into Zen Market's search bar. That's it, they'll handle the rest. The other huge reason I recommend them is the 60-day free storage. You can shop from multiple places over time, let everything arrive at their warehouse, and then combine it all into one parcel to save monies on shipping. To add to that, you can also sign up with a promo code MAHISTV to get 1,000 yen equivalent of Zen points to further reduce your shipping costs. Plus, with over 2 million users worldwide, they even have a loyalty program where you can earn credits and cashback. So, if you need stuff from Japan and want a simple, stress-free way to get them shipped internationally, check out Zen Market, which I've linked right below the video. Going back to the evildoers, primarily the core of the League of Villains, they are also people with their own lives, their own friends, even their own heroes. When not destroying the society, they act pretty normal, like chilling together eating food, and while committing evil, there is a sense of camaraderie, support, and care for each other. That doesn't make them good. No, hell no. It just makes them good characters that are more interesting to follow than your regular one-arc monster we defeat and forget. Take their backstories, all sad without exception, but for some reason, none of them feel like a sob story trying to force an emotional response from the viewers. Yes, I actually did the quotation marks if you're asking. I swear, every backstory in, say, Demon Slayer is the exact same. It's either someone became a midnight snack or Muzan saved whoever from their terrible fate. At first glance, MHA is identical. Everybody had their shady circumstance which led them to becoming villains, yet it doesn't cause this level of annoyance. Toga was born with an unsettling quirk that made her ostracized. Dabi is a victim of terrible parenting, and Twice's life was incrementally going downhill over a long period of time. It's not the sad part that makes these stories hit different, it's that they feel real looking at the origins of many criminals, which, in combination with humanizing them, makes My Hero Academia's villains that much more refreshing and scary. Continuing this topic, I want to talk about the types of redemption showcased in the story. Joining the good guys after committing untold horrors, or self-sacrifice of sorts, are probably the most common ones we see, and My Hero Acca not only elaborates on these, but brings a few additional ones, accounting for the amount of stars they earn. Let's begin with the lowest wanted level, Gentle and La Brava. Aiba is more of an accessory to his crimes, so I'll focus on the mustache guy. He is the definition of someone who has lost their way and doesn't know what to do, a la Jean at the early stages of becoming Twice. The difference is that he was lucky to find someone who cares about him, or in La Brava's case found him, which stabilized Danjiro, preventing further descent into evil and allowed him to reintegrate back into society after he paid his due. There's no telling how long he would have stayed in the concrete hotel if not for All for One, so he was again lucky in a sense that a chance to prove himself arose and Gentle took it. Without left quirk, mind you, he soloed all the inmates and later saved the coffin from falling, basically repaying his debt to society in a form of community service. No doubt that he's a good dude, so he was released. Next we have Endeavor, a great hero but failure of a father. His journey is too long to cover here, so I'll just say that he repented and got exactly what he deserved. Little forgiveness, a lot of damage both physical and mental, as well as a life of atonement. I'm glad that Horikoshi didn't give him a happy ending to emphasize that you can't fix years of abuse with a couple sorries. Stain. Now that's a vigilante done right. He doesn't repent or anything, his convictions are rock hard, solid, it's that the situation is different. He really wanted the hero society to improve, so while it was drowning in self-serving, rating-chasing fakes, he purged, and once the real heroes faltered, he assisted them. Well, one, the big G so to speak. His ending was perfect, died while helping someone he admired to achieve something he truly believed in. Also, can I add that the English dub of "These streets must run with the blood of hypocrites" goes way harder than "someone must be dyed in blood." The next Himo Sommelier, Toga, is the example of sacrificing for the greater good. She did 100% transform into a morally better version of herself, yet unlike with Gentle, it was too late. We just can't, at our current level of societal development, let her back with a slap on the wrist. She killed so many and had to go to prison for her crimes. No other way around it. The public would have never accepted it, recreating the environment that turned her into a villain in the first place. As much as I want to say people deserve a second chance, this is not how our world operates, sadly, and it's probably why Horikoshi decided to give her a noble way out. On the topic of traditional punishment, Spinner did not change his convictions much, just accepted his fate of answering for his deeds by serving a life sentence most likely, and even went a step further by trying to improve society with the story of how Tomura Shigaraki, the greatest villain, came to be. Additionally, I should address Mr. Handy here, who didn't get any redemption whatsoever, and with Pop's help is now too paying for his sins eternally. Onto a more radical solution, Shigaraki and Dabi kinda fall into the same category. Sometimes you have to kill a person to save them. They both realize the error of their ways somewhat, but there is no chance they're going back to living a normal life, especially after the atrocities they've committed, so in the best traditions of Nazarick, death was a mercy for them. Lastly, there is Twice. Heroes didn't get to him in time or just failed the persuasion check, leaving one single option: prevent him from hurting more people. The third thing MHA does better than other shonen is damage and destruction. Take Naruto in the Fourth Shinobi War. Battles are happening across the globe with all the nations involved, yet none of it matters. They might as well be fighting outside Konoha, as we barely see any cities or civilians affected. Here, it's an entirely different story. Villains attack when you least expect, and as Kishibe said, it's open season on all of your asses. Sure, we don't get the exact death tolls as it's normal for hero comics, and in general would have been way too dark for a shonen. However, look at Makia's rampage on the way to his master. He went through several dozen cities, and the reporter slowly saying each city name about to be hit sends shivers down my spine every time I listen to it. Imagine your town is about to be plowed through by an unstoppable force, or that you're just an average hero helping the evacuation, and suddenly there's a wave of annihilation coming your way. There's nothing you can do and have only a second or two to process it. That's what I love about destruction in My Hero. It's total carnage, very detailed, and we see it often. The above-mentioned Naruto does have its moments, pain won't let me lie, but it's not as visceral as here. On top of that, the aftermath is even worse. This ain't no victory worthy of tossing our protagonist into the air repeatedly, even though people have no homes to come back to. No, it was a devastating loss, with everyone beaten and hopeless. The scene with the doctor deciding who has a chance to survive and who is not worth the effort is probably the most heartbreaking one and really shows just how miserable these kinds of disasters are. Then there are long-term effects like the society growing uneasy or descending into anarchy, governments preparing to work with All for One if he wins, and individuals protesting or not caring at all. This is what makes destruction impactful, not just the sheer size of the crater. Oh, and while we're on the topic of size, I believe My Hero Academia has one of the better power scalings out there. Wait, hear me out, I'm not talking about the balance of power, which is absolutely whack. If you get a fancy quirk, you're golden, if not, you're a fucking spray bottle. Not about the international implications, not the Deus Ex Awakener, none of that. I'm talking about benchmarks as in good old DBZ traditions, and there's only one everyone relevant is compared to: Prime All Might. The fun part is, we've never actually seen what that looks like. Nobody in the higher echelons was even close to his level. Star might have been a contender, but good luck touching him. Which kinda fixes the issue of exponential growth beyond all reason, as even All for Shiggy was defeated before or right around the time he reached Prime Might. Here's an example of the opposite. Ichigo collecting titles as if they were Pokemons, and a naturally strong human turned Shinigami, turned Visor, turned Hollow, turned Fullbringer, turned Quincy. Come on, I know it's all part of Aizen's plan, but there's got to be limits. This isn't Skyrim where you can be a Thane of all holds, leader of all guilds, and a freaking Dragonborn simultaneously. Our Strawberry Boy has so much GMO, he went beyond all previous benchmarks like Yamamoto, becoming god knows how ridiculously strong. Similar issue with Naruto. If this was a Hokage level fight, what the hell do you call a scramble between two teenagers? Anyway, getting distracted here. My Hero Academia establishes the power scaling early on and stays true to it, being very careful about other characters reaching or transcending it. You can say, Machias, All Might struggled against the USJ Nomu, Endeavor barely killed the high end, and yet we see Mirko one-shotting them. Or what about the Rewound Daddy? That's the tricky part. Nomus are not the same. The one from the first season was specifically engineered to fight All Might and was still comparatively weak, as Prime Might would have wiped the floor with it by his own admission. The talking one is in the same ballpark. Todoroki had issues with it because he too is significantly weaker than the Symbol of Peace, again by his own admission. The near high ends are unfinished and thus are weaker than these two, plus have different specializations like long-range combat or sheer bulk. As for Shigaraki Sr., his prime is also unknown, and the rewind state is hardly as good, since his quirks are all messed up, some work better, some work worse, he's on a timer, rusty from not using them in so long. It's not ideal, and with every bit of damage taken, his body gets more frail, to the point where Bakugo was able to damage him substantially. Shiggy was brushing off his explosions with minor burns, and his weakness was mostly mental, where his hardware had like Windows, Mac and Linux trying to run simultaneously, so of course he was far from optimal. Deku was always beat up and couldn't go past certain percentage without injuring himself. Even when he did a wombo combo with Fajin to go faster than a bullet, I doubt All Might back in the day would have had an issue with that. Maybe with the last punch he surpassed the 8's user, but it's so hard to say because we've never seen anybody fighting at their true 100%. Also, just to clarify, I don't think Dynamite or Shoto for that matter are even close to Prime Might. The final thing my hero excels at is Vegeta, also known as a rival anti-hero. We got a 2-for-1 here, as both of these guys fit this role, yet their development is very different. Starting with Icy Hot, he's a more traditional representation of this trope. Powerful, cool, and with family issues. Think Sasuke, Ishida, Fushiguro, Zuko, Aki, Virgil for crying out loud. There are a lot of them, and they mostly follow the same formula. A rocky initial relationship with DMC slowly transforms into a friendly rivalry as the protagonist influences them in one way or another. What makes Glamuroki stand out is that he's not openly hostile and mostly has internal conflicts that he needs to figure out. The only reason he even introduced Deku to his struggles is because he thought that there is a connection between All Might and Midoriya similar to between him and Endeavor. Yes, you can say that it's the battle during which Shoto was forced to use his fire side that sparked this conversation, but it's the emotional relief of talking to someone in a similar position that is more important. Our crybaby picks up on that, especially after meeting with his dad, and responds by making Icy Hot accept himself as Shoto, not Endeavor's son, by saying it's your quirk, not his. Which is interesting, because that's practically what he needed to understand himself in order to take better control of One for All. But this is not the end of his transformation, as you can't just fix someone with a single conversation. There are still plenty of issues to unravel, and the next time it comes up, Midoriya uses a more aggressive, less empathetic approach of telling Todoroki to get his shit together. Beautiful writing, which emphasizes that growth is a strenuous process and requires several avenues to be used. Kachan, on the other hand, takes a different route. His whole life was about besting everyone and being praised for it, so the only way he can evolve is by fighting. Deku does little to help him grow into a better person, or should I say is ineffective at helping him because he is stuck in this mindset of help, help, help. That's not what Bakugo needs, because his pride only makes it worse, as every attempt to reach out to him is like saying, "You Kachan are UI," which is why he refuses to listen until he is shown his weakness, whether it's by Deku scolding him, All Might retiring, or not getting a license. He's like an addict in the sense that he needs to get into the right mindset first, and only then will he be able to improve, with Izuku helping by allowing Katsuki to communicate in the only way he knows, by fighting. Once his initial barrier was breached, you can see that he took this lesson to heart, as during the Endeavor Agency arc, he flat out said it, "I'm here to learn what I can't do." His mentality changed even earlier actually. The school festival and later joint training showcased the improvement in his people skills, which culminated in initiating the fight against Dark Deku. He explained to others how Midoriya feels and likely suggested this approach because this situation mirrors his own. That's where he came full circle, saved his friend and apologized from the bottom of his heart. I really enjoyed his transformation, especially seeing that he accepts his nickname and contributes so much to the hero suit, which speaks volumes about how much Kachan values Deku. It was I, Mahias, glazing just a wee bit into the microphone. Have a great whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers. Plus have a different specialization. Plus have different special. Have different special.